You know, upon my endeavors as a chap who likes his racing games, I've been pleasantly surprised by some games and what they have to offer. Sadly though, some games haven't received that recognition that they deserve. So in this quick list, I'll show you guys 3 racing games that I've played and that have, well, been pretty overshadowed in my eyes. Ones you should give a try if you can. Now before I start, this is just what I've played from the PS2 era of games, and these are my own opinions of why the games probably didn't get the shine that they deserved. So with that in mind, let's chat, shall we? Number 1. Automodelista. Bad pronunciation aside, this is what you get when you have a bunch of Japanese cars, Capcom, inspiration from Initial D, and maybe even One Gun Midnight. Shove it all in the mixer and come out with this arcadist gem. One thing that really stands out for Automodelista is this unique cel-shaded art style. It looks as if you're in an anime or something like that and you're now calling the shots. And this is no visual novel adaptation, man. This is the real deal. And speaking of anime, this game has the Akagi Mountain Hill Pass. More Initial D homage there. This is a fast pace where letting you know that your exhaust is popping, super quick jazz banging in the background, drop gears Initial D style fun in your hands. However, the physics for this game were quite weird, but that's I can really exclude because it was more supposed to be an arcade game. But that wasn't this game's letdown. It was the fact that this was a rare game and it still is rare to find. And I think it was a lack of marketing at the time this game released that's what probably led to this game's demise, and maybe even poor sales too. But anywho, I did a video some time back calling for the return of this game as it seems pretty deserving. Wouldn't it be nice to see something refreshing like this for the new generation of consoles or PCs, you know, what have you? Automodelista 2? I think it would be a good idea. Number 2. R Racing Revolution. So apart from this being a Ridge Racer look and feel alike, Namco can get pretty serious at times. A Simcade kinda serious though, in the form of R Racing Revolution. Now for a 2003 game, this is a well presented and even still looks good today for a PS2 standard game. The catchy soundtrack, a lively pit radio, and yes, I said pit radio. That's like one of the first games I've seen from that time that has a pit radio, which is actually functional and works. And some decent tracks and an okay story mode made this game a pretty memorable experience if you happen to play it. I mean, this racing game even had fan service. Fan service. Seriously, I'm not even joking. But what really surprised me about this game though is that for a 2003 game, R Racing had some very interesting force feedback if you played it with a force feedback wheel. It's very communicative if I may say so myself. Though it wasn't perfect, you felt the undulations on the track as well as how the car behaved and how the weight transferred. And speaking of car behavior, that was pretty much R Racing's letdown. The physics for me were extremely twitchy and weird on a controller, yet on a wheel it made more sense, though it had a lot of Ridge Racer in its blood. And it being a Simcade game, it didn't really make that sense in its civics. Physics, I mean physics. Speaking of which, it could be possible that the game engine for R Racing could have been used for Ridge Racer PSP titles if you look real close. Can we see Namco back in form again, in a Ridge Racer Type 4 style maybe, with a story, nice cars, game, presentation, all of that? Where's the next Ridge Racer actually? I really want to see that on PS4. But anyways, number 3, and the last number, Enthusia Professional Racing. You could say that this was direct competition to Gran Turismo, a real competitive competition if you will, and Enthusia took physics to a whole other level, a level which can actually rival simulator racing games of today. And this game was made, I think it was in 2005, 2006, I didn't write that down, but either way. And might I mention how enjoyable it is to play this game with a force feedback wheel? It's simply sublime. The cars felt like they had weight and the wheel communication was great. The controller wasn't too shabby either, and Konami really put in work for this game, especially for a rather interesting and salivating car list to boot. It was a really interesting game for its time. The Driving Revolution mode, which is something like Gran Turismo's license mode, also had some fun in it too, with you having to manage your speed and stability provided like a very good challenge. And the sounds even for their time were a pleasure to the ears. Each vehicle sounded as it should, and it did. However, Enthusia's letdown was that the game had a bit of an identity crisis. I didn't know whether it was trying to be Gran Turismo's rival, whether it wanted to be Gran Turismo, or be its own game, and because of that, Enthusia had a bit of genericness to it. Other than that, it will be nice to see Konami bring this back. However, it should be brought back in its form, obviously. So those are 3 overshadowed racing games that you should acknowledge. It will be nice to see these games return in this new generation of consoles or PC, what have you, but hey, only you, the player, can say something about that. And then, something can be done. Are there any other games that are worth mentioning? Comment below in the YouTube comments. But anyways guys, it's TayeedzSA here, and I guess I'll be seeing you guys around. Peace, and I'm gonna actually upload more now.